I actually had a lot more that I wanted to say when I decided that I was gonna say something. But it's not easy putting these things into words. Well, so a hero of mine, Rehman Rashid, died earlier today. And for those of you that don't know who he is, he was a writer, or as he would call himself, he was a storyteller first and foremost. And he was a journalist. He actually graduated in marine biology, if I recall correctly. And he wrote for the New Straits Times and some other publications in Hong Kong. I think it was Newsweek. Yeah, he was a journalist for Newsweek. And he was my hero. I was given a book of his when I was 13, called A Malaysian Journey, and it was 3 books in one. It was, or was it 4? Well, okay, it was an autobiography obviously of himself. It was a biography of the then Prime Minister Tun Mahathir, intertwined with it also being a biography of Malaysia, which at the time that the book was published in 1997 had been around for, 97 minus 63, 34 years, yeah. And it was a book about his journey, where he literally went around Malaysia, just going to all the states and just sharing his experiences with the people that he met. And it was given to me by my aunt and uncle, my auntie Lynn and my uncle Mahathir. Not Tun Mahathir, Dr. Mahathir. Wait, no, that doesn't help. Yeah, he's also named Mahathir. And it was given to me as a birthday present when I was 13 years old. And it was the single biggest inspiration for me to become a writer. There's no two ways about it. It was mind-blowing. It was enrapturing. It was captivating. It was a stunning piece of literature. And I urge you all, if you have never ever read a Rehman Rashid, please find the book. I'll try and find a link and put it in the description so that you guys can order it online. But it is one of my favorite books of all time. And it inspired me so much that I wanted to be a writer. Up till then, I don't know what. I mean, I was 13. I was a wee lad, and I've been writing since I was 10, 11. I'd written short stories, but I never thought that I could be able to make something out of it. I had very Asian parents who were, they encouraged my love of language, but they were not expecting me to make a career out of it. This was always a suspicion I had that played out later on when, they made me go into science stream. They didn't want to let me do the art side. They didn't let me do English lit. So I was pretty sure that I would never have made it as a writer if I had not picked up this book when I was 13 and read it cover to cover, and I read it multiple times, and I owe it to Auntie Lynn and Uncle Mahathir for giving it to me as a birthday present. And then, he was a columnist for the NST, and I would without fail read his column every single week, and it was always just so beautifully written. There was a lightness and an airiness that, that was, you could say, Murakami-ish, or and there was a depth and texture to the writing that was reminiscent of Neil Gaiman, right? There was wit, and a stunning turn of phrase in nearly everything that he wrote, and it was each article was an experience. It wasn't just something to read. It was an experience. You would feel things, and some of you that have read some of the things that I've written on my own website, might notice that emotion is something that I've always tried to convey in everything that I've ever written. But no, I could never do it like Rehman, and I probably never will. Yeah. But he was an inspiration, and there was a lot of stuff that I learned from just reading from what the man wrote. I can't imagine what it must have been to have been a companion of his or a friend. I know now that we had mutual friends, and I wish I'd met him, at least once, and okay, so, well, just to fill you in on whoever doesn't know the story, he had a heart attack, and I think it was a stroke when he was out bike riding a few months ago, 4 months ago. He was in Rawang, and he fell by the roadside, and nobody knows how long he lay there under the hot sun until somebody found him and rushed him to help. And one suspects that after a heart attack and being exposed to the sun for such a long time was, the damage was probably irreversible. And this is probably a consequence of that. I wanted to know, and I did not want to know at the same time about what was going on. I'd actually purchased a copy of his latest book, Peninsula, just a couple of months ago, because I was hoping that once he had become better, that he had, recovered, that I would be able to contact one of our mutual friends and request an audience with him so that he could sign the book and sign my original first run copy of The Malaysian Journey, which I still have with me from 1997. That's 20 years now that book has been out. And well, that won't happen. That's not possible. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how else to put into words what I'm feeling or thinking. If you can tell by the puffiness, I haven't been able to deal with it very well. This man was my hero. He didn't know it. But him not knowing it is fine with me. That's fine. I would have just loved to just shaken his hand just once, to say thank you. Thank you for inspiring me. Thank you for giving me the belief and the self-confidence that us Malaysians, we're pretty fatalistic these days. What with what's happening around us and what's happening, to between us. And we tend to be very self-defeatist sometimes. At least the people that I know, people that believe that we can't effect any change and stuff like that. And Rehman reminds me of a time when we all genuinely believed that we could. And we still can, I suppose. I don't know. But thank you for giving me faith in myself, that I could develop what little proclivity I had for the English language and making it into something. I write for a living now. I don't write stories for a living, which is what I would love to do, but maybe one day, but I write. I get to write for a living. I get to, be creative and tell little stories to people. And I get to I get to use my love of the English language on a daily basis, and I mean there are plenty of other factors that made me become a writer. I had great English teachers when I was in school. I had amazing exposure to lots of great books. I read Star Wars religiously when I was a child. I actually feel a bigger attachment to Star Wars through the books than perhaps even the movies. But I if there is a genesis, if there is a singular point of origin, if there is a big bang, that encapsulates or it can be traced to the origin of my love of English, it has to be Rehman, and it has to be that book, A Malaysian Journey. It all started from there. I mean, I knew I was semi-talented with words, from my English teachers in primary school and whatnot. I got great marks in essays. I wrote stories that I was, even now I think I'm still proud of some of them, but it was that little tome that I got, that inspired me so much and made me write even more. I was also really lucky to have an English teacher by the name of Miss Teo, who has also left us. She left us a few years back, who actively encouraged my love of the language. I mean, I couldn't get Rehman to mark my essays, so I got my English teacher, the next best thing to do it, and I wrote so many short stories. I wrote more than what the class required of me. I would write, maybe an extra 2-3 essays a month, and she would more than happily read them and mark them and point out what I could do better. She had to put up with some of my Star Wars fan fiction, which was, when you're 14, 15, it's not going to be the greatest. I wrote my own versions of episodes 2 and 3 before they even came out into the cinema. They were not great. But yeah, it was a writing exercise anyway, right? The irony right now, of course, is that I, maybe a tribute via an essay or something would have been more fitting, rather than this, which is being done through a video. But I feel like I need to capture this in a much more raw and honest manner, rather than through prose, which you can backspace, which you can delete, which you can edit and all that and make it better. But I don't want to make it better right now. I just want it out there, and I just want it to be honest. And yeah. Thank you, Rehman. Thank you for everything. And thank you for that story about Rose. That really struck a chord with me, because of things that I'm going through in my own personal life, my own personal trials and tribulations that really resonated with me. Thank you for sharing that story with the world. I'm glad you didn't take up that career as a marine biologist. And and I have issues with faith. I don't believe in an afterlife or anything of the sort. So this is all just going out into the ether. Maybe you can hear this, maybe you can't. It doesn't matter. I just, your race has been run. You ran it better than I could ever have possibly imagined anybody could have run it. It's time to rest now. It's time to be with Rosemary, wherever that may be. Oh God, I had so many things I wanted to say. So many things. I think I need to say, but maybe this is gonna have to be it for now. So yeah, I'll post a link to that story about Rosemary in the comments, in the description below for those of you to read up on it. I'll post links to all of his books so that you guys can get it. I haven't even unwrapped Peninsula yet from its plastic wrap because I wanted to meet Rehman and I wanted him to sign it. Okay, I suppose that's it from me.